The massive Imperial ship appeared in Earth's solar system without warning. Its golden hull stretched longer than any human vessel ever built, gleaming under the distant sunlight. Behind it, 50 smaller warships moved into attack formation. Admiral Robert Wright stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, Earth's flagship, watching the alien armada through the main viewport. His weathered face showed no fear, only quiet determination. After 30 years in space, he had prepared humanity for this moment. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, sir," reported his communications officer. Wright nodded. "Put them through." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a tall, blue-skinned alien wearing ornate golden armor. The Imperial commander's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it studied the human before it. "This is Commander First Class of the Imperial Fleet. Your species has been chosen to join the Galactic Empire. Resist, and we will crush you. Submit, and you may serve." Wright smiled slightly. He had dealt with bullies before, though never once from another planet. "This is Admiral Wright of the Human Defense Fleet. We've studied your empire's expansion. We know what you do to worlds that resist." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "But you don't know us. You don't know what humans are capable of." The alien commander laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "We rule 300 species across 1,000 worlds. Your primitive fleet cannot hope to." "We're not primitive," Wright interrupted. "We're different. Every species in your empire developed space travel before they created weapons. They made war only after meeting other aliens." He leaned forward. "But humans, we've been fighting each other for thousands of years. War isn't new to us. It's in our blood." The Imperial commander's upper eyes narrowed. "You dare threaten the Empire?" "No," Wright replied calmly. "I'm warning you. Look at our history. Study our wars. Then take your ships and leave. Because if you attack us, we won't just fight back. We'll show you why every human child learns about battle tactics before they learn to fly spaceships." The alien cut the transmission. Wright sighed, turning to his crew. They all knew what was coming. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "they're moving toward the new Mars colony." Wright had expected this. The Empire always started with outer colonies, thinking it would demoralize their targets. They didn't understand that attacking human civilians would only unite Earth like never before. "Send the alert to all colonies," he ordered, "and get me Earth Command. They need to know it started." The next few hours proved right. The Imperial fleet attacked New Mars, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves facing desperate civilian miners who turned their drilling equipment into weapons. The colony's small defense force used the asteroid belt for cover, striking and disappearing before the Empire's superior ships could target them. Back on Earth, the response was immediate. Countries that had been enemies for generations suddenly found a common cause. Military leaders shared secrets, politicians set aside old grudges, and factories switched to wartime production within hours. Wright watched the reports flood in as he prepared his fleet for battle. The Empire hadn't bothered studying human history, or they would have known. Nothing united humans like an outside threat. "Admiral," his second-in-command spoke up, "Earth Command has authorized Protocol Alpha." Wright nodded grimly. Protocol Alpha was something they had prepared for this exact scenario. While the Empire believed they were fighting a primitive species, humanity had spent decades preparing for galactic war. Hidden shipyards, secret weapons, and battle plans refined through countless simulations, all waiting for this moment. "Send the coded message to all fleet commanders," Wright ordered. "Tell them, remember Pearl Harbor." As his crew rushed to comply, Wright looked out at the stars. The Empire thought they were starting a simple conquest. Instead, they had just awakened a sleeping giant, and for the first time in galactic history, they were about to face an enemy who had mastered the art of war long before reaching the stars. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The attack on New Mars changed everything. Smoke rose from the colony's burning buildings as Imperial ships celebrated their victory. They didn't notice the small cargo ships quietly slipping away into the asteroid belt, carrying not just refugees, but something far more dangerous: angry humans with a plan. Captain Tom Miller watched the enemy fleet from his hidden position inside a hollow asteroid. His ship, the Swift Strike, wasn't much to look at. Just an old mining vessel rebuilt with hidden weapons and special engines. But that was the point. It didn't look dangerous. "All teams report ready," his tactical officer whispered, as if the enemy might hear them through space. Miller nodded. "Send the signal. Remember the plan. Hit hard, hit fast, then disappear." Across the asteroid belt, 30 other converted mining ships received the same message. The Empire had won their first battle, but they were about to learn why humans called it the Awakening Giant. The Imperial Fleet's commander was recording his victory message when the first explosion rocked his ship. Before he could react, more explosions chain-reacted through his fleet. Human ships appeared from nowhere, firing mining lasers modified to cut through warship armor. "Impossible," the commander shouted as another explosion lit up his bridge. "They're just miners." But they weren't just miners. They were humans who had grown up playing war games, watching old war movies, and reading military history. Each civilian captain commanded their ship like a guerrilla fighter, striking from hidden positions before vanishing back into the asteroid field. Miller's ship darted between two massive Imperial cruisers. His modified mining drill, now a powerful energy weapon, cut through both ships' engine sections. Before the enemy could turn their guns, his ship disappeared behind an asteroid. "How are they doing this?" an Imperial officer screamed over the communication channels. "Their ships are ancient." The answer was simple. Humans had been preparing for war since they first looked at the stars. Every human ship, even civilian ones, was built with the possibility of combat in mind. Hidden compartments could store weapons. Mining tools could become weapons. Even the ship's entertainment systems could be converted into military-grade targeting computers. Back on Earth, the response to the new Mars attack unified humanity like never before. Old enemies became allies, sharing military secrets and technology. China's space fleet joined with America's. Russia's best pilots flew alongside European squadrons. For the first time in human history, all of Earth's military might focused on a single goal. The United Earth Defense Coalition formed within hours of the attack. Military leaders from every nation met in an underground bunker, planning humanity's response. They knew the Empire thought this would be an easy victory. That mistake would cost them dearly. In space, Miller's guerrilla fleet continued their hit-and-run attacks. The Imperial ships, designed for large-scale battles between massive fleets, couldn't adapt to this new style of warfare. Their sensors, built to track large warships, struggled to lock onto the small, fast-moving human vessels. Another direct hit. Miller's crew cheered as an Imperial ship's engines died, leaving it stranded. But Miller wasn't celebrating yet. He knew this was just the beginning. The Empire had lost 10 ships to his makeshift fleet, but they had thousands more. What they didn't know was that humanity had been building secret weapons and ships for decades, hidden in underground bases and asteroid facilities. The Imperial commander finally ordered a retreat, his mighty fleet running from converted mining ships. As they fled, Miller opened a channel to all human forces. "Remember this moment," he broadcast. They came expecting to find primitives. Instead, they found warriors. And now they know. This is just the beginning. As the Imperial ships disappeared into hyperspace, alerts went out across Earth's secret shipyards. Weapons that had been hidden for years were brought into the light. Special forces teams, trained in secret for alien warfare, boarded their ships. And in hidden bases across the solar system, humanity's real warships powered up their engines. The Empire had started this war thinking humans were easy prey. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Inside the Imperial Palace on their home world, four-eyed analysts stared at battle reports with growing fear. None of it made sense. Their perfect battle plans, tested across 1,000 victories, were failing against the humans. How do they think like this? Asked Chief Analyst Redcrest, throwing another tablet across the room. Every other species we conquered followed the same patterns. But these humans, they're different. On the main screen, videos showed human ships doing impossible things. Cargo ships turning into warships. Civilian vessels fighting better than military ones. Trash containers hiding bombs. Even space itself seemed to work differently when humans fought. Commander Lisa Baker watched their confusion from a captured Imperial scout ship. Her small team had taken it 3 days ago, and now they could see everything the Empire was saying. She smiled as she recorded another message for Earth Command. They still don't understand, she told her team. The Empire thinks war should be orderly, that battles should follow rules. They never learned what humans know. War is chaos, and chaos is our best friend. The Empire had called an emergency meeting of their war council. Their best generals gathered to figure out why they were losing to what they called a primitive species. The humans watched everything through their stolen ship's systems. "Look at this," one general shouted, showing a battle recording. "They turned an entire asteroid into a trap. When our ships got close, it exploded. Who thinks like that?" Every human child who ever played hide and seek, Baker whispered to herself. She had suggested that trick, remembering games from her childhood. The Empire's confusion got worse when they studied Earth's history. They found thousands of years of warfare, with each war teaching humans new ways to fight. While other species developed technology first and weapons later, humans had mixed the two from the start. They have more types of weapons than all other species combined, an Imperial scientist reported, his voice shaking. And they keep inventing new ones every time we fight. Baker's team intercepted another transmission, this one from an Imperial battle fleet. The fleet had found what looked like an easy target, a damaged human ship, floating in space. But when they got close, the damaged ship released a cloud of tiny robots that ate through their hulls. "That's the problem with the Empire," Baker told her crew as they watched the Imperial ships die. "They think technology and weapons are the same thing. Humans know better. We know anything can be a weapon if you're creative enough." The Empire's leaders try to adapt. They copied human tactics, but it never worked right. Their ships were too big, their crews too used to fighting the old way. When they tried to hide behind asteroids like humans did, they chose the wrong positions. When they tried surprise attacks, humans saw them coming. "They're learning the wrong lessons," Baker said, recording another report. "They think they can copy our tactics, but they don't understand. It's not about the tactics, it's about how we think." She was right. The Empire's soldiers were brave, their ships were powerful, but they had never needed to think like warriors. They had never played war games as children, never studied battles for fun, never had to wonder if today's friend would be tomorrow's enemy. In their 1,000 years of conquest, the Empire had never met a species that was born from conflict. Their weapons were copied from others or developed after meeting aliens. But every human invention, from the first stone tools to the latest starships, had been shaped by the question, how can this help us survive a fight? Baker sent her final report of the day to Earth Command. The Empire was falling into exactly the trap humans had set. While they tried to understand human warfare, Earth's forces were already changing tactics again. New weapons were being built, new strategies tested. "Tell Command it's working," Baker told her communications officer. "The Empire is looking for patterns that don't exist. They want rules we don't follow." And while they're confused, she smiled, watching another Imperial fleet fall into another human trap. "We'll show them why humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our ships. It's our imagination." General James Anderson stood in Earth's most secret military base, deep under the Rocky Mountains. Around him, hundreds of screens showed real-time battle data from across space. But he wasn't watching the screens. His eyes were fixed on humanity's newest weapon, the first true AI battle computer. "Is it ready?" he asked the lead scientist. "Ready and angry," the scientist replied. We fed it every battle in human history. Then we let it watch what the Empire did to New Mars. Anderson nodded. The Empire thought they were fighting normal soldiers. They didn't know humans had taught machines how to hate. The AI's first test came sooner than expected. An Imperial fleet jumped into the Alpha Centauri system, expecting another easy fight. Instead, they found human ships moving in ways that seemed impossible. How are they predicting our every move? The Imperial commander demanded as another of his ships exploded. The answer was simple. They weren't predicting. The AI was calculating faster than organic brains could think, directing human ships to be where the Empire's ships would be a second before they got there. But the AI was just the beginning. In other secret bases, humans were changing the rules of space warfare in ways the Empire never imagined. They're terraforming weapons now, an Imperial spy reported, his voice shaking with fear. The humans found a way to turn our own planet-changing technology against us. He was right. Anderson's teams had studied captured Imperial terraforming ships and found a new way to use them. Instead of making planets livable, they could make them deadly, but only to specific targets. The first test happened at the Battle of Proxima 9. The Empire sent their biggest fleet yet, 200 ships to take one human colony. They thought their numbers would guarantee victory. Execute Operation Groundbreaker, Anderson ordered. The hidden terraforming ships activated. Suddenly, the metal in Imperial ships began to rust and break down. The Empire had never considered that someone would weaponize the same technology they used to create atmospheres. This is impossible, Imperial commanders shouted as their mighty ships fell apart around them. They're turning space itself against us. But humans weren't done changing the rules. Anderson's next project combined the AI with terraforming technology. The result was something the Empire had never seen, weapons that could think and adapt on their own. Sir, a junior officer reported, we just took their first core world. The Empire. They're starting to run from us now. Anderson walked to the main view screen. The Empire's mighty capital ships, which once struck fear across the galaxy, were now retreating from human vessels half their size. But these human ships were different from the ones that fought at New Mars. They had evolved, just like humanity always did during war. They don't understand evolution, Anderson told his staff. The Empire thinks technology just gets bigger and stronger. Humans know better. We know that real evolution means becoming smarter, more adaptable. The proof was in the numbers. For every ship humanity lost, the Empire lost 20. For every tactic they developed, humans had 3 counters ready. The Empire's weapons got bigger, while human weapons got smarter. In their command centers, Imperial leaders watched with growing horror as their perfect military machine fell apart. They had started this war thinking humans were primitive because they fought among themselves. Now they realized that those internal conflicts had turned humanity into something the galaxy had never seen, a species that didn't just fight wars, but evolved through them. Send word to all human forces, Anderson ordered. Begin Phase 2. As the message went out, ships across human space activated new systems. The Empire thought they had seen everything humans could do. They were wrong. Phase 2 would show them why challenging humanity was their biggest mistake. Because while the Empire had spent 1,000 years conquering easier targets, humanity had spent that same time preparing for exactly this kind of fight. And now, finally, they could show the galaxy what they had learned. The real evolution of warfare was about to begin. Admiral Mark Wilson sat in his command chair aboard the Earth ship Freedom, watching as another Imperial world erupted in rebellion. On his screens, slave species who had served the Empire for centuries were now fighting back, using tactics they had learned from watching humans. Look at them go, he said quietly. They're learning fast. On the planet below, the cat-like people of the desert world had turned their mining machines into weapons, just like the humans at New Mars did. But they added their own twist. Their natural ability to see in the dark made their night attacks deadly. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're getting calls for help from 3 more worlds. Their people want to learn how to fight." Wilson smiled. The Empire's biggest mistake wasn't attacking Earth. It was letting their other slaves watch how humans fought back. Now those slaves had hope, and hope was more dangerous than any weapon. "Send them the basic training package," Wilson ordered, "and make sure they get copies of Earth's military history. Let them learn from our past wars." That was humanity's new strategy. Instead of just fighting the Empire directly, they were teaching others how to fight. Every rebel group got copies of Earth's most famous battles, from ancient times to modern space combat. In another part of space, the bird-like people of the sky worlds had studied human air combat tactics from World War II. Now they used those same moves in their atmosphere fighters, turning their speed and natural flying skills into deadly weapons against Imperial ships. "The Empire never let us think about fighting back," said one rebel leader during a secret meeting. "But humans showed us that being smaller and weaker doesn't mean you can't win. You just have to be smarter." The reptile people of the swamp worlds learned guerrilla warfare from studying Earth's jungle conflicts. The strong rock people learned about fortress defense from studying castle sieges. Every species took Earth's battle tactics and made them their own. Wilson's ship jumped to another system, responding to a new call for help. This time, it was the crystal people of the ice worlds. They had already started their rebellion, using their clear bodies to hide in plain sight, a trick they learned from human camouflage tactics. "They called us primitives," Wilson told his crew as they watched another Imperial base fall to rebels. "But we were the only ones who kept our warrior spirit, the only ones who remembered that fighting for freedom is part of being alive." The Empire tried to stop their slaves from learning about Earth's history, but it was too late. The knowledge spread from world to world, system to system. Slaves who had served for generations now stood tall, remembering ancient pride their people had lost. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the Empire is pulling ships from the front lines to fight the rebels. They can't handle attacks from both sides." That was the real power of humanity's plan. While Earth's fleets hit the Empire from the outside, newly trained rebels struck from within. The Empire's mighty military had to split up, trying to fight enemies who used different tactics on every world. Wilson opened a channel to all nearby rebel groups. "Remember," he told them, "you don't have to fight like humans. Take what works from our history, but make it your own. Your people have their own strengths. Use them." The rebels listened and learned. Soon, the Empire faced not just human tactics, but 100 different fighting styles from 100 different species. Each rebel group added their own natural abilities to what they learned from Earth, creating new ways of fighting that even humans hadn't thought of. "Start broadcasting the next lesson," Wilson ordered. "Let's teach them about revolution." As his ship moved to its next target, Wilson watched the rebellion spread across the stars. The Empire had spent 1,000 years teaching their slaves to be weak and obedient. Humans spent just a few months teaching them to be strong and free. Now the galaxy was learning why Earth's history was full of revolutions, because humans knew something the Empire had forgotten. The most powerful force in the universe wasn't weapons or ships. It was the burning desire to be free. In the Imperial Palace's war room, the High Council made their darkest decision yet. On the golden table in front of them lay a black box, the control key for weapons they had banned centuries ago. "We have no choice," the High Commander said, his 4 eyes dark with shame. "Use the planet killers." Above Earth's colony on New Hope, the sky turned purple as Imperial ships appeared. They carried weapons that could crack planets apart, devices so terrible that even the Empire had agreed never to use them again. But Colonel David West, watching from the colony's command center, just smiled. "So they've finally shown their true face," he said to his staff. "Send the signal. Execute Operation Mirror." As the Imperial ships prepared to fire their planet killers, something strange happened. Their sensors detected movement from behind New Hope's moon. A human fleet appeared. But these ships were different. They were darker, sleeker, built for one purpose. This is Colonel West to all Shadow Fleet ships. West broadcast on all channels. Show them what happens when they break the rules. The Empire fired their banned weapons first. Huge purple beams that could destroy worlds. But the human ships didn't try to dodge. Instead, they activated special shields, catching the beams and sending them right back at the Imperial fleet. "Impossible," screamed the Imperial commander as his own weapons' power turned against him. "How did they copy our planet killers?" The answer was simple. Humans hadn't copied anything. They had built something new, shields that could reflect energy weapons back at their source. While the Empire broke their own rules out of desperation, humans had prepared for this moment. "We knew you'd do this," West broadcast to the dying Imperial fleet. "Every empire in human history tried something similar when they started losing, so we got ready for it." The news spread across the galaxy. The mighty Empire, which claimed to be civilized and honorable, had tried to use banned weapons against human civilians. But instead of responding with equal cruelty, humans had found a way to defeat these weapons without using them themselves. "Send the recordings to every world," West ordered. "Let everyone see what their noble empire tried to do." The Empire's propaganda machine had always painted humans as savages. They told their people and their slaves that humans were dangerous monsters who had to be stopped. But now the truth was clear. Humans fought with honor, even when their enemies didn't. In their desperation, the Empire launched more banned weapons, planet-destroying bombs, star-killing missiles, and waves that could wipe out all life. But each time, human ships appeared with new defenses, new ways to turn these terrible weapons against their users. Why? An Imperial commander asked after his fleet was destroyed by its own weapons. "Why don't you just use these weapons against us? Why only reflect them back?" "Because that's not who we are," West replied. "Humans don't need to destroy worlds to win wars. We fight to protect life, not end it." The Empire's leadership couldn't understand. They had expected humans to become cruel and savage when faced with destruction. Instead, humans showed something the Empire had forgotten long ago: the strength to stay moral even in the darkest moments. In their war room, the High Council watched their mighty empire crumble. Their banned weapons had failed. Their propaganda had backfired. And now their own people were starting to question everything they had been told about these primitive humans. "Send the signal," West ordered as another Imperial fleet retreated. "Tell Earth Command that Phase 3 is ready to begin." As his message went out, ships across human space began powering up new systems. The Empire thought using banned weapons was their last resort. They didn't understand that humans had been holding back, waiting to see if the Empire could learn, could change. Now it was clear they couldn't, and humanity was done being patient. The final phase of the war was about to begin. Admiral Robert Wright stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender once again, but this time he faced a very different Imperial fleet. The golden ships were battle-scarred now, their proud hulls showing the marks of a war they had never expected to lose. "They're sending the surrender signal," his communications officer reported. Wright remembered his first meeting with the Empire, when he had warned them about humanity's strength. Now, 6 months later, they finally understood what he had meant. "This is High Commander of the Imperial Fleet." The familiar four-eyed alien appeared on screen, but his golden armor was dull now. We request terms of surrender." The Empire expected humans to be cruel in victory. They thought Earth would demand their complete destruction, just as they would have done. But Wright surprised them again. "The terms are simple," he said. "The Empire will become part of a new galactic federation. All species will have equal rights. All slaves will be freed. And Earth will help rebuild what this war has destroyed." The Imperial leaders couldn't believe what they were hearing. "You would show mercy after what we tried to do to your worlds." Wright smiled. "That's the final lesson humanity has to teach you. True strength isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about knowing when to help them stand back up. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The empire that had ruled for 1,000 years was transforming into something new. But instead of burning it all down, humans were helping build something better. "We're getting calls from 50 different worlds," Wright's staff reported. "They all want to join the Federation, even some of the old Imperial worlds." In the weeks that followed, Earth sent teachers instead of soldiers, builders instead of destroyers. Human engineers helped repair damaged worlds. Human doctors treated all injured, regardless of which side they have fought for. "I don't understand," an Imperial officer said as he watched humans help rebuild a city their own ships had damaged. "We would have destroyed you if we could. Why help us now?" "Because that's the real difference between us," Wright explained. "The Empire only knew how to rule through fear. Humanity learned long ago that the strongest civilizations are built on respect and cooperation." The new Galactic Federation grew quickly. Species that had been enemies under the Empire learned to work together. Former slaves sat on the same council as their former masters, and at the center of it all was Earth, teaching lessons about unity that they had learned through centuries of war and peace. In the new Federation's first meeting, representatives from 300 worlds gathered. Former Imperial leaders sat beside rebel commanders. Species that had fought each other for centuries now worked together to write new laws. "This is why we won," Wright told his crew as they watched the meeting. "Not because we were better at fighting, but because we remembered how to make peace." The Empire's old leadership had one last question before stepping down. "How did you know?" they asked Wright. "How did you know you could beat us?" "We didn't," Wright answered honestly. "But humans have a saying. The only way to completely fail is to never try." We weren't fighting because we knew we would win. We fought because it was right. A year after the war ended, Wright stood on a new space station, built jointly by humans and former Imperial engineers. Around him, species from across the galaxy worked together, learned from each other, and built a future none of them could have imagined before. Was it worth it? A young officer asked him, looking at the scars still visible on some of the nearby planets. Wright watched as a group of children played nearby. Human kids teaching former Imperial youngsters the game of baseball while learning alien games in return. "Look around," he said. "We didn't just win a war. We helped create a galaxy where different species work together instead of fighting, where strength means helping others up, not pushing them down." He smiled as a former Imperial ship passed by, now painted with the blue and white colors of the Federation. "That's humanity's greatest victory. We didn't just show them how to fight. We showed them how to live in peace."